What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we've got another video here for the Legion Go, this time with Black Myth Wukong. I've been having a ton of fun with this game on all the devices from the Ally X, the Steam Deck, and the Legion Go, and really it's running pretty good everywhere, but the Ally X and Legion Go really have surprised me with how well they can run this game. So we're going to get into it, look at some 1200p, 800p, and a lot of frame generation, and we're going to talk about that in here as well. Now, when you launch into the game, you'll have an option of just the normal mode or compatibility mode. I'm just using the normal mode here for the game. If you do have stutters or issues, you might try compatibility. We are starting off with that 1200p, no VSync, no frame cap, and no motion blur, and we will start with FSR, but we do have XeSS, FSR, and TSR in here with frame generation, which we're going to mess with. And we'll take a look at that as well when we get in here. Now, as far as the sliding super resolution scale here for your upscaler, it doesn't do well here at 1200p until down about 60 or so. But the image quality can get rough, of course. I'm going to go with 70 for this. We're going to use FSR to start with, no frame gen on, and we are on the low preset with medium anti-aliasing and medium texture quality. You can certainly bump some stuff up and try to get more out of it, especially the lighting, but every time I'd bump something up from low to medium, I would lose about 5 to 7 FPS, especially the lighting. So just keep that in mind. That's why I stuck with this. Now, if we switch over here to that TSR I was talking about, the same 70%, we gain about 2 FPS here. It is pretty stable. TSR works really well. So if you want to go this route, you could do that, and it works just fine in the game. But I was just kind of concentrated on the FSR at the 70% here at 1200p to kind of see how that was going to work for me. And we're going to use a lot of frame generation with both 1200p and 800p as well. And we're also going to be running 20 watts performance mode here on the Legion Go as well. You can certainly use a custom go up to 25, or if you're docked, go higher, but you don't gain a lot. If I bump to 25 here from my 20, I only gain a couple of FPS, and you only gain a couple more when you go to 30, and it really eats up that battery at 25 a bit quicker than at 20. So for me, it's just not worth it. I like using the 20 watt performance mode on the Legion Go. It always works pretty well for me unless I really need that boost. So that's what we're sticking with here. But of course, you've got some room to do what you want there. So at that 20 watts, 1200p, the low with a couple medium settings, FSR 70%, and we're at 6 gigs of VRAM because I tried 4 gigs of VRAM and it just wasn't as smooth. Even though this shorts the system RAM a little bit, it does work a little better for me this way. So keep in mind I was using 6 gigs as well. We do have some frame time stutters and spikes and things here and there as we move around this way, but it's really not too bad, and nothing ever really happened that like affected my gameplay in a couple of hours of messing around with the Legion Go and playing on there. Sometimes it would have those happen, those spikes or drops, but we usually straighten out. It depends on where you're at, how busy things are, and all that kind of stuff. Boss fights and everything felt pretty good, but they are going to drop as well at 1200p. You'll go under 30 FPS at some points in the game, and I do hear that much later on in the game, chapter 2, 3, get into some farther on, it could get a little iffy on performance. So we'll have to see how things go with retesting and future videos and getting deeper into the game. But I do think ultimately 800p will wind up being what we want to go with, which we'll get to soon enough. Now, I played around a good bit in the first couple of areas in the game. You beat the first main boss in the first area. You move to this second area, and I'm about into the third area for that. And performance has been fairly consistent, no matter what device, whatever settings, just moving between those. But like I said, I have heard it can get a little more dicey a bit later on in the game, so we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, it overall feels pretty good here. I don't think this is the way I would want to go as far as, you know, just the frame drops and getting a little low for me on a game where I'm trying to dodge and do things here. So frame generation in game is actually quite good in Black Myth Wukong. I was surprised. Input latency really isn't increased by much. It's very smooth. It doesn't have that. Some games just have more of a stutter and an input latency. I don't know. It's pretty clean in this game, and I really like using it, whether I'm at 1200p or 800p. I do find it pretty advantageous to use frame gen in the game. You may agree or disagree with that, but check it out for yourself and see. Now, let's go ahead and move on to 800p here. This is where I think the performance is quite good for this game on the go. All right, so jumping in the settings here, let's go from our 1200p to 800p here, and we're going to be at 100% on our res scale here instead of using any upscale right now. just to jump in and take a look. But we are going to turn frame gen on pretty quickly because I'm kind of concentrated on that. But in the same spot that we got 33 FPS at the 1200p with the 70%, we get 38 at the 100% here. And throughout my play, I get about 3 to 7 FPS difference with native 800p versus my 1200p testing that you saw. But turning frame gen on allows me to keep a much higher frame rate. Again, it feels really good in this game, and with the higher base frame rate, feels even better than the 1200p. We get an overall higher frame rate with very little frame time drops or spikes when using frame gen. So that's why I'm more concentrated on the frame gen in this video, just because I think it really is worth it on these handhelds like the Legion Go to take advantage of it when it's in game like this and works really well, because these aren't high-end devices. These aren't high-end PCs meant to play brand new AAA games at really high settings or resolutions or anything like that. They're just not. But they sure do amaze me with what they are able to do, and I think it is important to look at the features we have available and possibly use those. So even if you've had a bad experience with frame gen in the past, I'd say if you're playing this game, check it out and give it another chance, because myself and many other people I've talked to are really enjoying this game with frame generation on, especially on the handhelds. And I know some friends with really high end PCs, even myself with one of my higher end PCs and a 240 hertz monitor, where we're really able to push the game and get a lot of frames out of it just for the fun of it. So I just think it's kind of important. It's running great here at 800p with those settings, FSR 100%, frame gen on, 6 gigs of VRAM, and I just think it's a lot better experience than what we get over on the 1200p side. And on the smaller Legion Go screen, I think you can more get away with it if you want to. But everybody's going to have a different preference when it comes to image quality. Now, we can boost FPS even more if things get hairy down later in the game. If I come down to, say, 85 on my res scale there, we'll jump up 11 to 12 FPS just right here from the 71 that we were at, which gives us another little boost. So there's kind of like enough room in here that if things do get hairy later on, unless it gets really bad, we should be able to tweak things between resolution and frame generation and stuff to get the performance we need to keep the game playable on these handhelds. And I think that's what's important and what I kind of take away from this video when making this. Native is always great for everything if you can, but if you need that performance, we're getting really good here when it comes to the upscalers and frame generation, all of that. And even though we can't play with settings a lot, because I'm telling you, as you start turning this game up, it does start to go down, but you can get away with a little bit more if you want to. But if you want to concentrate on gameplay and frame rate and all of that, you can do that here too, more as I've done, and get a little bit more out of it. But yeah, I think there's enough headroom here to really be able to play through and enjoy this game on something like the Legion Go. And hopefully you guys got enough out of the video to tell if you want to play it, maybe where you want to head with your settings, if you're more into the visuals over the FPS or the gameplay or whatever there. Let us know in the comments what your settings are and what's working for you on your Legion Go, guys. Thanks a lot for coming and check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.